Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth and fancy seeing you here in June. I'm very welcome, my friends, and especially my enemies. Come in, sit down, no touching. I don't do the touching. Are you feeling charitable? Then smash the subscribe button and the like button, and please do follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Man. And welcome to Saturday's special edition of the DC Multiverse Daily. Now, I just want to talk to you people about canon, because the debate has started all over YouTube again. What's canon in the DCEU? What's canon and what's not canon? Is Zack Snyder's Justice League canon? Is Justice League canon? Yes, it's all canon, because from the moment Walter Hamada, especially Walter Hamada and Jim Lee, conceived of this multiverse strategy, the worlds of DC, which pretty much was conceived straight after Justice League was a failure and an utter disaster, they knew what they had to do, and it couldn't be one focus on the Snyderverse centrally. They knew they couldn't do that anymore, but they knew they had to embrace all the worlds of DC, all the Earths. From the moment Barry Allen goes back in Andy Muschietti's Flashpoint movie, the worlds of the multiverse will bleed through into one another, making everything canon. Justice League, the Snyder Cut, Superman the movie, Man of Steel, all these worlds can now bleed into each other. The potential of so many beautiful crossovers between universes. And this is the beautiful thing of the multiverse strategy. I'm going to give you a fine example, the only one I can think of, but it's a really, really good one. I mean, we saw it on Crisis on Infinite Earths. That was the beginning of this strategy, right? All these characters crossing over from different Earths, they're all canon now. They're all canon in the whole thing. And it's like when Barry Allen first meets Kara in Supergirl Season 1, right? Now, in Season 1 of Supergirl over on CBS, Supergirl, the TV show, was not canon with the Arrowverse franchise. But from the moment Barry Allen and Kara Zor-El, a.k.a. Supergirl, meet, Supergirl becomes canon in Arrowverse. And this is exactly what's going on now. And from the moment Ezra Miller's Barry Allen and Grant Gustin's Barry Allen met in Crisis on Infinite Earths, from that moment on, everything is canon in the DC Multiverse strategy. In this brand new version of the movie franchise, everything is canon. You cannot now say that this isn't canon, that isn't canon. Everything is canon. So the debate whether Zack Snyder's Justice League is canon or not is null and void, because everything is. This is the whole point of the multiverse strategy. This strategy is about fans being able to say, what I love is relevant, and what I love is relevant. That's cool, cheers, let's have a beer. Instead of, I'm canon, my version was better, your version was crap. It doesn't matter now, because everyone's favourite version of DC live action, I mean, I've said this before, but even out there, there's an animated version of the DC universe, right, that could easily cross over with the live action. And that's what I'm saying. Everything is canon now, which means creatives and directors can come in and do their own thing. Sometimes it will be, it will be a disconnect and there won't be any crossovers. And sometimes it will be, a total crossover like Andy Muschietti's Flashpoint movie. Yes, so everything is canon now, which makes things really, really exciting. Now, there is this debate with Justice League and the Snyder Cut, and there's this divisive, toxic conversation. Is Justice League canon? Unfortunately, it is. And Zack Snyder's Justice League, fortunately, will be canon. Now, Zack Snyder said that his universe, his Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, and his Justice League movie and whatever else, hopefully, fingers crossed, he does in the future. Now, even though it won't be directly involved with what the DCEU is now, it's all canon. There's no such thing as anything not being canon. Because at the end of the day, I suppose that Zack Snyder's Justice League is an Elseworld version of Justice League. But at the end of the day, it's all part of the multiverse strategy. And, those characters are part of this DCEU movie. The DCEU movies that have gone forward with Shazam and Aquaman and things like that. It's still canon. It's just another version of the Justice League movie, right? But this is Zack Snyder's vision. The truth is, No one's ever going to think of Justice League as canon once they see Zack Snyder's Justice League streaming event. This will be the biggest streaming event of all time. No one's going to care about Justice League afterwards, whatever they say officially. So it doesn't really matter. But once you create a multiverse strategy and the walls of that multiverse are open, are kicked open with what Barry's going to do in Flashpoint, which is go back in time, bring his mum back from the dead, stop Reverse Flash Eobard Thawne from killing her. He changes everything and he knocks down the walls of the multiverse. And as I say, anything, any world can bleed through another world and characters can cross over, which means every single thing that's got the DC trademark on it on your screen is canon. We're not there anymore where you can say that's not canon and that's not canon. And as I say, the discussion about the Snyder Cut not being canon is null and void because, as I've just said, everything is canon. Now, I was reading an interview yesterday with Henry Cavill as we discussed what I heard about Zack Snyder coming in to direct Man of Steel 2. And there's a bit I left there, I missed it, I didn't do it on purpose. This is what he had to say. Cavill began his defense of the Snyder Cut by strongly insinuating that Whedon, who has since come under fire for allegedly ruining hostile, borderline abusive shoot, let me start again, come under fire for allegedly running a hostile, borderline abusive shoot via Variety, was simply never the right guy for the job, being less invested in the characters than Snyder. When it comes to the adaptations and stuff, it's important to me that things are faithful to the source material. To be fair to Cavill, he's always said that. Cavill said, as both the star of Netflix, The Witcher series, and an avid player of the games on which it's based, it's fair to say Cavill isn't talking out his rear end on this point. When you are just a carriage on someone else's train, this is Cavill again, it can be a dangerous place to be in. When you are the train itself, when you are Lord of the Rings director Peter Jackson, when you are Zack Snyder, when you are Dune director Denis Villeneuve, it is, I'm sure, absolutely amazing because it is your vision. And he's not wrong what he's saying. And I don't think he's, throwing shade at Joss Whedon. He's saying Whedon came in to do a ridiculous, awkward gig. He didn't want the actors that were there because he didn't pick them, and they didn't want him there. It wasn't his vision, he wasn't invested, and that was the problem. It was never going to work unless they gave him the time and the money to do his own thing, and Sujihara wasn't willing to do it. Now, let's go back to what I was saying yesterday about Zack Snyder doing Man of Steel 2, which I'm absolutely more convinced after reading this part of the interview than ever before. But I'm very trustworthy. I'm trusting my sources. I think they're top tier sources, and I believe them. I think Snyder is coming in to do Man of Steel 2 exclusively for HBO Max. Look, Henry Cavill is a career actor. Let's be absolutely clear about that. This is a guy who's very old-fashioned. He does things the old-fashioned way. In terms of what Ray Fisher's doing, a lot of people in the industry would not me necessarily, but this is how he's seen by a lot of pundits and people within the industry who work in the industry, that he's being very, very unprofessional. And he's saying, well, I don't care. I'm going to get this out here. I want people to know what happened. And I want some accountability, right? Accountability over entertainment. But in Cavill's book, that's probably very unprofessional. And what Cavill's doing here is very, very clever. But as I say, Cavill is a career actor. So he would never speak out of turn. He would never say this unless there was a plan for him and Zack Snyder to work together again. That he has a contract to play Superman again in a standalone movie. And I believe this is why Cavill all of a sudden is shouting from the rooftops about the Snyder Cut. Yes, he was in the reveal video on the Man of Steel watch party, but he's been very quiet again since that moment. Since the past couple of days when he's been speaking out. But it's right what he talks about Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings and Villeneuve's, Dune. It's true. It's true. Of course you're going to be more invested. So Cavill just wanted a direct sequel from Man of Steel. That's all he ever wanted. I think he's getting it. I think this is not the Superman movie J.J. Abrams is doing. That's something, Man of Steel 2 is happening. But just because Man of Steel 2 is happening. It doesn't mean that JJ isn't going to cast his own Superman and do his own theatrical movie. If theatres are actually a thing by then and everything isn't kind of released via iTunes or Google Play or Prime Video, I'm fine with that. I think the industry must start to accept that for the meantime, and it could be forever, but at least for the next 2 or 3 years, the movie theatre strategy is dead. 20 or 30 quid, pay-per-view, watch once, just as many people, maybe more, will come in to watch these movies, and you will still clear from $500 million to $1 billion globally. And saying that can't happen, you're not giving me any evidence. The disbelievers, oh, I want the theatre experience. Theatres, that's the only way you can make money. And if you actually show to them, that how much money these studios make from people ordering films online, they won't believe it. Even with free films on Netflix after you pay a subscription. I buy films of Amazon Prime all the time. I actually asked someone and the figure they told me was astronomical. So just imagine what they can make on theatrical releases. There is no question that they can go through this model. But the problem is they're scared about upsetting the movie theatres, because if things go back in line and everything's okay in 2 or 3 years' time, the movie theatres may make their life a little bit uncomfortable, and this is what they're very worried about. But at the end of the day, the movie theatres need governmental support. The problem is I can't see Trump's government supporting them. But they do need to go pay-per-view for the next year or so, because as we heard last night, No Time to Die, delayed till April is disgusting. It's ridiculous when you can just go pay-per-view and make the same amount of money you would have made theatrically. That's a fact. That's undeniable. You can keep on shouting from the rooftops in the comments about, nah, I want to watch it in cinemas. We are in the middle of a pandemic. You can't have what you had before, you big babies. Now, please, let me watch the flipping films I want to see on demand instead of crying about the theatre, the biggest screen possible. I'm sick of it. And that's my rant. But I'm more convinced more than ever that Man of Steel 2 is happening, starring Henry Cavill. I think he's all signed up for the movie, and Zack Snyder will definitely direct. As I say, people like Cavill don't come out, blowing smoke up people's asses unless they're signed up to do so. Look what he did. Look what he did for Justice League. He was coming out and saying, even without Marvel, he still would have struggled. He was saying what they wanted him. Basically he was throwing Zack under the bus because he had no choice, because they told him to. And then, was it last year he was saying, I don't know if it's worth releasing the Snyder Cut. I'd rather just focus on another Man of Steel movie, because that's always what he's been focused on. But now he's getting what he wants, a direct sequel to Man of Steel, directed by Zack Snyder. He's all happy. He's going to promote whatever they want him to promote, and it's brilliant. So, just to reiterate what I said at the start of the video, everything is canon. There's no need to worry. The multiverse strategy is in line. It's an exciting time. And yes, Billy Crudup will reprise his role as Henry Allen, Barry Allen's father, in the Flashpoint movie. I thought what little we saw of him in Justice League, he was absolutely brilliant. There were great performances in Justice League, despite the problems and the on-set problems. They did a good job in terms of performances and characters. So I like that element of the film. It was a Frankenstein's monster, and we can't get over it. But I think we all need to get over it, because we're all getting what we always wanted. Zack Snyder's Justice League. Comment down below. Like, share and subscribe, and I'll be back tomorrow with even more DC Multiverse Daily. See you again soon.